Welcome back to the show today. We are talking about the career arc of Kevin Durant through the lens of public perception. I'm talking about the media as well as the fans, because KD listens to both. I think Kevin Durant probably has the second most interesting story in the NBA right now. Second to LeBron James, who's chasing Michael Jordan's legacy as the greatest basketball player who's ever lived. It's a close second because I think Kevin Durant has the most drama-filled career over the past 20 years. Because let's be honest, as NBA fans, we like a passive-aggressive Twitter fight as much as we like the game of basketball. Or maybe it's just me. Because I think the more you contextualize your interests, the more interesting they become. Let's say you're a World War II buff. Learning about World War I is only going to make you more interested in the nuances of World War II. So if you find yourself as interested with the stuff that's going on off the court as you are with the stuff that's going on the court, that's perfectly natural. So was Durant's career tumultuous from the start? No, it was not. If someone told you during KD's tenure with the Sonics and the Thunder that in a few years he'd be one of the most despised players in the league, you'd be appalled. You might even tell that person from the future to get lost. Because KD is a sweet young man that loves the game and respects it. One place that I assume KD is still universally loved is Seattle, Washington. As KD's first and only year as a Seattle SuperSonic, he was the team's silver lining in a completely abysmal season. The Sonics finished with the worst record in the West, but KD was the Rookie of the Year, and for his last game in Seattle, he put up 41, 13, and 6. Obviously, Sonics fans lost all interest in the team once they packed up and moved to Oklahoma City, crystallizing the memory of Kevin Durant as a skinny, tall beacon of hope for Seattleites. But Kevin Durant was worshipped in Oklahoma City as well. He was a 7-time All-Star and 7-time All-NBA selection. He took them to the finals and he was the league MVP, which gave us this speech.
You made sure we ate. You went to sleep hungry. You sacrificed for us. You the real MVP.
Everyone loves a mama's boy. The city fell ass backwards into sports relevance through KD and his soon-to-be nemesis, Russell Westbrook. Nemesis might be a little bit strong. They seem like they've been cool for a really long time. KD also put a lot of his energy back into the city. He started a foundation that offered assistance for low-income families. He constructed basketball courts all over the city, and that foundation ran a school supply drive every year that he would show up to. I even remember him showing up at a local college during the lockout and he played flag football. Kevin Durant loves people and he loves competition. After doing this research, it kind of gave me light into who Kevin Durant is and what he stands for. I think he's really benevolent in a real genuine way. He's not doing it to just boost his ego. And I know this from something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But in the summer of 2016, after the Thunder had been eliminated by the Golden State Warriors, a team that had just set the record for the greatest regular season in NBA history, he signed with them as a free agent. And one detail I find really interesting about this story is his teammates Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook didn't even know he was considering signing with them. They thought they were just going to run it back the following year. And they definitely didn't think he'd sign with the Golden State Warriors. This is the biggest free agency signing that I can remember as an NBA fan. Even bigger than the decision when LeBron went to Miami in 2010, and that was literally ceremonious. KD going to the Warriors was a free agency signing that lopsided the NBA for the following 3 years. KD was arguably the best player in the league, and he was going to join the league MVP. Not only were Oklahoma City fans upset by this, but everyone was upset by this. It made the NBA championship feel like a foregone conclusion. And for the following 2 seasons at least, it kind of was. I played back an interview between Kevin Durant and Bill Simmons, and KD actually had an incredibly mature perspective on his reception when he came back to Oklahoma City.
If I was a fan of that team and I was in their shoes, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But what makes it even sweeter is that I think at some point in your career, if you're like considered one of the best, you should be loved and you should want to feel loved and hated. And I felt that, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to see what both sides felt like.
It seems as though he knew that sports fans' love was conditional, and he wanted to see what the other side of that passion looked like. Along with the fans hating his guts, the media wasn't too kind to him either. Stephen A. said that him signing with the Warriors was the weakest move that he'd ever seen. So generally after this, it felt like it was open season to hate on Kevin Durant. So let's talk about the infamous burner accounts. In 2017, a Twitter user asked KD to give him one good reason he left the Thunder for the Warriors. Durant responded and told this user exactly how he felt. And from his own personal account, he said he didn't like playing for Billy Donovan or the organization. He also said his roster wasn't good. Pretty bold criticism for a public forum, right? But wait a minute, he did it in the third person. That's kind of weird. He said he didn't like the organization, and KD can't win with those cats. That's because Durant meant meant to post those tweets from one of his burners. Durant was forced to admit that he had separate Twitter accounts that he pretended to be a fan of himself, and he'd defend all negative tweets targeted at him. Now there was blood in the water. All the haters knew that KD was sensitive about his public perception. So sensitive that he assumed an alter ego of his own biggest fan. Next, we have his beef with Draymond Green. Durant was a strange fit from a culture perspective at Golden State. This was a team that had a core group of 3 guys that already had a name for themselves. And then Kevin Durant came in as the #1 guy. He was kind of the new kid on the block, but also simultaneously the coolest kid on the block. KD's last season at the Warriors, there were already rumors that he was going to leave during free agency. I think it's fair to say he never felt like it was his team, being that Steph Curry was there and he was the obvious crown jewel of the city. So during a game against the Clippers, Draymond rebounds the ball, takes it down the court, refuses to pass to Kevin Durant, and the game goes into overtime. A fight between Draymond and Kevin Durant ensues on the bench. Allegedly, Draymond called Kevin Durant a multiple times. He said he was making the entire season about him and that they were champions before he got there. I'm sure Kevin Durant thought about this remark again when the Golden State Warriors became champions after he left, basically voicing any fear or insecurity that KD probably already had in his head. Now he knew his fears were valid because they were coming from a teammate. Durant said this was one of the reasons he left Golden State, and that summer he left for Brooklyn, and again without saying goodbye to his teammates. His teammates found out via Twitter. Durant did a Wall Street Journal interview in which he said he never really felt accepted by the team, but then he criticized Golden State's motion offense, saying that it could only work for so long in the playoffs. He did not have to say that. I'm not even sure if that's true. I'm sure if him and Clay were healthy during the playoffs, that motion offense would have been pretty successful. So then Durant went to Brooklyn, and it seems as though he tries to burn every bridge that he crosses. This is where Charles Barkley called KD a bus rider, not a bus driver.
Kobe Bryant said, I had to win a championship without Shaq. LeBron James said, I had to win a championship without D. Wade and Chris Bosh. That's the way this thing works. Before KD gets that great respect from all the old heads, he's going to have to win a championship as a guy, as a bus driver.
I think Barkley actually made some really good points here. I don't even think he was trying to be disrespectful. I think he was just giving honest insight on how NBA legends look at current players' legacies. But this interview might be the reason why Charles Barkley pulls no punches when he's got something to say about KD.
You know, Kevin, there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year, so you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah.
KD later said that there was a problem with his mic, but there definitely was not, because he says yes after Charles Barkley asks him a question. I respect KD's move though. He's basically making all the TNT guys do all the work. He's like, I just played a basketball game, now you guys have to engage me in conversation. I did my job, now do yours. So I think the real question now is KD the bus driver in Phoenix, or is it Devin Booker? But here's the even bigger question. Has KD moved past the need to have his legacy approved by fans, media, and former NBA legends? Alright, thank you for being here. I obviously didn't include a lot of the stuff about him in Brooklyn because I've already kind of done a video on that. So yeah, thanks for being here. Be good to your mothers, eat a corn dog, all that stuff. Kiss a dog.